so annoying. Why does everything have to be so boring?
All right, hello everybody, and welcome back to Honey Badger Arcade. So I had planned on doing a video about the black pilling that's going on online around lots of different things from all sides of the political aisle, actually, from the white nationalists to the communists. But something came across my feed, and I think we really got to talk about it. So I want to talk to you guys today about Baggage Claim. And Baggage Claim is a pretty popular YouTube channel. She's got about 312,000 subscribers. And she normally does videos about film and TV and in-depth analysis of that kind of stuff, right? But talking about the stuff going on in our culture has, I think, put her on the road to looking at the issues behind our Hollywood culture, right? So, like, why are films going woke? What is going on here? And I think it takes a special kind of person to take that extra step. Most people remain on the surface level and they just talk about, whether or not something is good, and they don't want to dive into the sort of like, the zeitgeist behind it. But she has been doing that a little bit more and more, and she just released a video today that I feel like we really have to react to. So join me as I watch Baggage Claim's video entitled "Men, We Need You." I think this is going to be pretty great. So please like the video and share it if you could, and let's get into it, because it's kind of like it's going to take a little bit of time.
Everything feels like it's falling apart. Homelessness, crime, addiction, mental illness, all of these issues are only getting worse. Politicians blame the system. Activists blame inequality. But what if the problem starts somewhere no one wants to look? What if it starts in the home? If you trace back every issue that's plaguing our society, If you trace back every issue that's plaguing our society, you end up with one answer: the epidemic of fatherlessness.
Yes. Thank you, Baggage Claim. Thank you so much. This is so obvious. And yet, so many people don't want to talk about it. And it is very difficult. It's very difficult for people to face because, we've made decisions on an individual basis as a community and as a society to push men further and further out of the home. And no one wants to go back and say, I think we made a mistake. And so she is starting to see this. So yeah, we're going to get into it. Let's play some more of this video. I'm so grateful to you, Baggage Claim, for it takes courage to say these things. It really does.
In America, 1 in 4 children is growing up without a father. That's 18 million children. This is a massive increase from less than 10% in 1950. So how did this happen? After the 1960s...
Well, first of all, the 50s are oppressive to women. So we can't go back to the 50s and look at how things were working because women were so in bad shape, right? They were on Valium. Now they're on SSRIs, but SSRIs are good, guys. Valium was bad.
Everything began to shift. Welfare programs were created with this noble intention of supporting single mothers, who at the time accounted for only about 9% of families. But the policy ended up having unintended consequences. The system ended up rewarding the absence of men in the household. All
right, I'm going to pause it here. Look, guys, I ask because she's going to say some stuff that I disagree with, but let's not go after her for this. So if you go and comment on her video, please be kind and supportive and nudge her in the right direction, because she's just starting to get into this. So naturally, people are going to have a reaction like, oh, this was well-intentioned, but it went wrong. I don't think it was well-intentioned. I think that it got exactly the result it intended to, which was to drive men out of the home, out of their position as fathers on purpose. But it doesn't upset me because, like I said, she's actually acknowledging this, and this is not a small channel, and she doesn't normally talk about social issues or political issues. She normally talks about movies and TV. So this is extremely important that we be supportive. But yeah, I don't think it was unintended. I think it was intended.
Combined with the liberalization of divorce laws, the divorce rates skyrocketed throughout the 1970s, peaking around 1980 at roughly 23 divorces per 1,000 married couples. Whenever there is a divorce, it's typically the mother who gets custody of the children. So single motherhood rose from 9% in the 1960s to nearly 40% by the early 2000s. This shift in family dynamics created a new cultural hero, the single mom who did it all, and the deadbeat father who wasn't worth keeping around. In just 2 generations, fathers went from being seen as essential to being treated as optional. So we all know the importance of a mom, of course, but what is the impact of separating a child from their father?
Well, I think we're going to get into that, but yeah, you notice that she used a clip from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air because Will in the show, his father was a deadbeat, and of course this is how they presented it. And the unfortunate well, it's not unfortunate. The reality is most fathers want to be involved with their kids, and they're presented as deadbeats. So this is a narrative that was, I don't know if it comes out of like the conservative viewpoint on family. I think I could place the blame on that because this is like the main thing that Larry Elder, for example, talks about when he discusses fatherlessness. But I think that the truth is actually harder for people to cope with, which is that women are incentivized to kick men, the fathers of their children, out of the house because that's how they get paid by the government. So women are paid to exclude men from their children. And women act on that incentive because they benefit from the incentive. And as Thomas Sowell says, if you incentivize bad behavior, you will get bad behavior. If you incentivize good behavior, you will get good behavior. It's very simple. And this is just what we have done. So anyway, you'll notice that she uses clips from movies. So this is probably where she's getting this from, because if you look at our modern media, I don't know if there is anything that has fathers in it. And if there are fathers, are they good dads? Are they, idiots like Peter Griffin or Homer Simpson? Are they resentful like the what is it? Married with Children dad, Paul Bundy? So I don't know. But anyway, let's keep going.
A young boy, a father serves as a role model of masculinity. They model how to control impulses and confront challenges directly. They are typically the first external validation a young boy gets from a man. And this is really important because that's how children learn, not entirely through instruction, but through imitation. Boys don't become men by being told what to do. They become men by watching one. So when that role model is missing from their lives, young men often lack emotional resilience, like the ability to take criticism, delay gratification, or manage frustration in a positive way. So they're a lot more prone to anger issues, to depression and emotional volatility. Without the external male validation, the boys tend to have higher rates of anxiety, of insecurity, and then they pursue that male approval by joining gangs or getting super competitive. And some boys, just as they grow up, become extremely isolated. Daughters too benefit from their fathers modeling that masculinity because they essentially set the standard of their future relationships. A father teaches a girl how she deserves to be treated, what respect looks like, and also what kind of love to accept. When that's missing, many girls grow up confusing attention for affection. They start seeking validation from men. And a father's love teaches boundaries, because while a mother's role is to nurture, to comfort, and to meet the child's physical needs, she can't also be this strict disciplinarian. It's honestly a lot to ask from one person. And that doesn't mean that women can't do it. I'm just saying it's difficult. It's the father's role instead to shape the children's character and to create structure through discipline. I'm sure many of you have seen instances of a young boy who won't listen to his mother, who said something 1,000 times. But if the father walks in, especially the type of father who knows how to embody that role, all he has to do is say it once and the boy falls in line. That's the irreplaceable role of a father, to embody strength in a way that makes his son respect him and later rise up to emulate him.
So yeah, everything that she's saying is basically true. And I could like nitpick things, but I'm not going to. I think that this is really good. I'm really glad to see this conversation moving into the sort of like culture space of YouTube, like because Baggage Claim was on Nerdrotic's stream. like a while back. So she's like traveling, in those circles, which means that those people are going to see this stuff. Hell, for all I know, they watch like our content. I don't know. I'm hopeful. I certainly don't want to get an ego about it but I do think that what we've been doing is making an impact, because like I'm hearing a lot of the stuff that we've been saying about fatherlessness, and men's issues advocates, they all have their own, like their favorite little topic they like to talk about. Like if you don't know, I'm from Honey Badger Radio. This is why my channel is called Honey Badger Arcade. And the other Badgers, they have their thing that they tend to take really seriously. So Mike, his concern is suicide. Allison, her focus tends to be on domestic violence. Like these are the things that trigger her, right? That trigger us. Hannah's thing is, basically due process, rule of law kind of thing. And mine is fatherlessness. And not because like I had my father, but where I grew up, none of my peers had their father in their life. None of them, except for like a handful, like maybe like one or two. And I think that I could see what was happening, but at the time I couldn't put the two together. So for me, fathers are absolutely crucial. And it's actually like the cure for so many other things that we get distracted complaining about, other issues. And I think Baggage Claim is going to touch on this as well. But anyway, so yeah, I'm glad that she's talking about this. This is really good news.
But without this inner strength, without character, without self-worth, and without a positive masculine identity, the boys turn into lost men who at their best struggle to be good partners to their future wives, but at their worst fall into this life of crime, often turning to addiction as a coping mechanism. A fatherless boy...
Another thing I love too is that she's not attributing these behaviors of fatherless men to masculinity, because this is what this system has done. It's essentially created at least one or two generations of broken fatherless men who have, reduced impulse control, anger issues, emotional issues, their codependency, addiction, all these other things, competitiveness, violence, crime, drug addiction. And then when people look at what's happening, they blame them for being men. They blame masculinity. And that's not the problem. The problem is a lack of masculinity. The problem is that they didn't know what to model their behavior off of. The problem is that a lot of these fatherless boys grow up around other fatherless boys, and they're just looking to each other to see how to model their masculinity. And the only people that are in their lives that they can model it after are women. So they start acting like them with the same, emotional temperament, the same temper, the same, propensity to fly off the handle, but they're doing it in a man's body. So they're doing a lot more damage. And then when outsiders look at it, they just see men. So I'm glad that she's able to like parse that out, because that's not what it is. Right? Anyway.
Spends the rest of his life trying to fill the void of never being enough for his father to stay. For a girl, a father's love is her first lesson in trust, in value, in worth. When that love is missing, she doesn't stop needing it. She just starts looking for it in all the wrong places. And the data supports this. Girls from fatherless homes are more likely to experience teen pregnancy, struggle with self-esteem, and get into unhealthy relationships because they're looking for a father figure instead of a husband. Worst of all, data shows that without the protection of a father, a girl is more likely to suffer SA because she's left exposed to predators, to manipulators, and to the kind of attention that pretends to be love. Boys from fatherless homes are twice as likely to drop out of school and score lower on standardized tests. According to the DOJ, over 70% of youth in state correctional institutions come from homes without fathers, and fatherless boys have...
Yeah, like 90, I think there was a stat that said 95% of men in jail for violent crimes came from fatherless homes, or not their biological father, maybe a stepdad, maybe a boyfriend. Generally like stepdads and boyfriends, that you can find good ones, but a lot of times women who are not good at selecting partners for reproduction are just basically bad at picking men, and so they will pick bad men. So
significantly higher rates of addiction. The issue of fatherlessness is far worse in the African American community, where 47% of children are growing up without a father in the home. People often think that issue.
I think okay. So fatherlessness is different from out of wedlock. The birth rate of Black children out of wedlock is something like 80%. So maybe there's some like different way to look at it, but I would look at the out of wedlock thing as the more serious issue, because I don't know that these men are really involved with the kids. It's hard to say, but you can look at marriage. You can look at that statistic, right? So I would go with the 80% out of wedlock, but again, I'm being a bit nitpicky. I'm just glad she's bringing this up.
Issues of crime and poverty in Black communities is a race issue, but really it's a family issue. Children from fatherless homes are 4 times more likely to live in poverty, and like we said before, twice as likely to drop out of school. This cycle is made worse by high incarceration rates, which remove even more fathers from the home, ensuring the next generation grows up without that important male guidance. And without that guidance, young boys are far more likely to seek belonging in gangs. This affects white families too, since fatherlessness continues to rise across America. The belief that Black Americans struggle due to racism misses the point that the most successful demographic in America are not Caucasians, it's Asian Americans. It's the group with the lowest rate of fatherlessness at around 10%. Asian families also have the highest median household income, the lowest poverty rate, and the lowest incarceration rate in this country. In fact, Asian Americans outperform nearly every other demographic. But fatherlessness doesn't just hurt children though. When a father leaves, the entire weight of the household falls on the mother's shoulders. She has to become the provider, the nurturer, the disciplinarian, everything at once. Studies show that single mothers experience higher levels of stress, naturally, depression, and burnout, and are 5 times more likely to live in poverty than married women. Many have to work multiple jobs just to survive, with no one to share the emotional and financial load. Their children often spend less time supervised because she literally doesn't have the time. The culture praises her strength, but quietly ignores her suffering. Behind every strong, independent woman is often a woman who's just really tired, lonely, and carrying a burden that she was never meant to bear alone. Strong.
All right, pause it there for a second. Okay, I'm just gonna nitpick this a little bit. Yeah, it's tough being a single mom, but they chose to sleep with men who are not fit to be dads, and women control all of their fertility. Like, they have full control over their fertility. So if she doesn't think that he's going to stick around, or she doesn't think that he's, father material, she should not have a baby with him. And all I'm asking is that we treat women like adults. So I get that all of the negative stuff. I'm glad you're bringing all this stuff up, but women are not victims of fatherlessness. They are participating in it. And I think that one of the reasons why they do is because they think that they're going to get, like a meal ticket for it. I mean, I knew welfare queens that would just have babies, and the more they had, the better their taxes were, the more money they got. And if the fathers were different men, they got more money than that. Because if you have multiple babies from the same guy, you're going to get like some more money. But if you have multiple babies from multiple men, you're going to get a lot more money. And I know that this is like maybe a bit of an outlier. I don't think it's that much of an outlier, though. I don't think it's that radical to say. But I'm just going to say that women choose who they sleep with. So, and that's it. If you reward these men with sex, then more men are going to basically do that to get sex. So yeah, there are, the men, you choose good men and it's fine. Like you'll be okay.
Families are the foundation of a community, and a community is the foundation of a robust nation. When the family collapses, the sense of duty that once bound people together, that dissolves too. Neighbors stop helping each other, people disappear into their own lives, and the invisible fabric that once bound us together quietly unravels. So it's with this unraveling of communal safety nets, people began turning to the state for what the family used to provide, like security, support, and stability. In the 1960s, only a fraction of Americans relied on government assistance. Today, more than 1 in 3 households receive some form of federal aid, and the US spends over $1.2 trillion a year on welfare programs. What was once meant to be temporary help has become a permanent dependency because the structure that once made self-reliance possible, the family, is gone. When people stop learning responsibility at home, they become dependents of the state. Schools replace parents. Bureaucrats replace fathers. The result of that is an individual who's incapable of independence because he always needs someone else to survive. The founding fathers understood this. They knew that freedom depended on virtue and that virtue began at home. The government could secure liberty, but only families could teach people how to live worthy of it. The best individuals and citizens are not manufactured by some institution. They're forged in stable families and strong communities where education, discipline, accountability, and love are learned by example. A nation cannot be stronger than its homes, and no government can substitute for the moral training that happens across the dinner table. The collapse of the family doesn't just weaken the society, it erases the very conditions that make freedom possible. So hopefully by now we're in agreement that stable families are the answer to the problems of our society. But how do we rebuild them when an entire generation has grown up without seeing one?
Well, more than one generation. In the Black community, it's probably like 3 generations. And in Latinos and maybe even a lot of white communities, it's 2 generations. So yeah, it is not an easy question to answer, but let's see what she suggests. I think, but I will say with some optimism here, that it is already changing. So like the one thing that we started doing in states to reduce the rate of divorce, because that's what it has to start with, is we start with default 50-50 custody, and that's reduced divorce rates in a number of states by about 20%, like 20 or 25%. So there's definitely some policy things that has to change. I also think that, like I said, we have to alter the way that we view marriage and commitment and family and children. Because right now we are basically hostile towards all of those things, especially men, and that has to change. And this is, and here's the funny thing too, is that I think that one of the reasons why she is speaking out about this too, is that not just because she's seeing it in our media, which usually is, that's like, you know, the vehicle through which we tell our stories is how a lot of people are influenced in their day-to-day. They think about that, and they, if it's inspiring, then they want to act in accordance with it to change their behavior. But if it is something, you know, more, let's say, blackpilling, maybe they will try to avoid that thing, whatever it is. And if you pump into women's heads that men are bad, men are bad, men are bad, men are dangerous, then women are going to start acting like it. And they are very susceptible to this stuff. So we have to stop demonizing men. We have to stop demonizing families. We have to stop demonizing fathers. We have to stop demonizing family. I already said that, didn't I? Community. And, you know, in my opinion, the thing that holds it together is the sort of Christian ethics. You know, we got to get away from this postmodern stuff, because that's also like killing us, because you just create your own morality. You become your own God, and people do whatever they want. So, all right, anyway, let's keep going. What's she gonna say?
The cycle perpetuates itself. Boys raised without fathers never learn how to become one. It also doesn't help that we've become really good at telling men that we don't need them, that a husband is irrelevant and a father is optional. But walking down the street of any American city, you'll know how far from the truth that really is. American major cities have become defined by homeless encampments and open drug use. Up close, it's impossible not to feel their despair. Looking at them with their bodies slumped over, their eyes completely vacant, lost in some drug haze. And I can't help but wonder what could have been if someone, somewhere, had made them believe that they were meant for more than this. Because that's what it comes down to self-worth. A mother's love is unconditional, but a father's presence, his willingness to stay, to lead, and to raise his children is a choice. And that choice becomes...
It's irreplaceable, for one, which I thought you were going to say. Like, that you can get close, but your biological father is like the absolute best that you can get. It is irreplaceable. Like mothers cannot be fathers, right? But anyway, she's saying it's a choice, so I think we're going to get into deadbeat dad territory.
The foundation of a child's self-worth. When a father stays, a child learns that they're worth staying for. When he leaves, that belief is completely shattered. And too many people spend the rest of their lives trying to fill that void. So all I can say, and this sounds so corny, but men, your nation needs you. We women need you. Your children need you. You've been told for decades that you're unnecessary, but that's not true. A strong man changes everything. His home, his neighborhood, his children's future. You are not this powerless thing. You are foundational. When you lead, when you protect and provide, when you stay, even when it's really difficult, you hold the line between order and chaos. And I know many of you have never had that example. You didn't have a father to show you how to be one. But every generation of men has a choice to repeat the failures of the past or to break the cycle. So this is your choice. Become the man your son can admire and your daughter can trust.
All right. So I think that is basically the end of the video. I don't want it to cut off suddenly. So overall, though, I'm very grateful that she brought this up. Unfortunately, and I get that, she is a woman. She is basically making an appeal to men to like step into the role of father. And now I guess we get to like where the issue is going to be. Okay. So baggage claim. I say this with all respect. I like that you did this. I really appreciate it. I'm glad that you took these steps to look into this, but you have to understand that most men want to be involved with their children, and they are prevented by the state and by their exes from doing so. And this is the issue. Women have to, number one, recognize the importance of fathers, and they have to also recognize that they have the ability to discern good men from bad men. And if they do that, then we're going to have a much healthier society. But it has to be, we have to get women involved. They have to, because they're the one that hold all of the power in this case. Men can't assert anything. We live in a time now where men have responsibility and no authority, and women have authority but no responsibility. And so when the children act up, as an example of that, when a woman is a single mom and her kids are acting up and they're running around doing all kinds of stuff, committing crimes, shoplifting, whatever it is, just like doing damage to the culture, they don't blame her. They blame the father for not being there. So they blame the men as usual. And the truth is that we can't control whether or not a man is going to stick around. But women can control who to have babies with. So anyway, I don't know. I want to leave it to you guys. What do you guys think about this video? I appreciate that she, like I said, went down this road and looked into this. I think that deserves a lot of praise. And I hope that she continues to look into this more and maybe make more videos about this subject. So thanks, guys, for coming on the stream today, or the show, rather. It's just a video, watching my video. Please like the video, comment on the video, and share the video. And I, just want to say, I've been doing this a long time. I really appreciate anyone who watches. It means a lot to me. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks. Long live Vivian.
This is so annoying. Why does everything have to be so boring?